Hey guys, it's Will. It's Hong Kong Cinema Appreciation Society. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, thanks for finding us. I hope you liked this video. If you feel like giving us a sub and a thumbs up and a comment, I really want comments on this video. That's going to be important to me. But please do give us a sub if you feel like it. So what are we here to talk about today? Richard Ng passed away just yesterday as I'm filming this. He was born December 17th, 1939 in Guangzhou, China, and he passed away on April 9th of 2023. And so this video is kind of my tribute to him because he is absolutely my favorite comedian of what I consider the classic era of Hong Kong cinema. To me, the classic era of Hong Kong cinema is really late 70s to early 90s, and right in the middle of that, there's this giant chunk called the 1980s. And 1980s Hong Kong cinema is really the thing that beats the hardest in my heart. I just love those films so much, and Richard Ng was, for me, like I said, the greatest comedian of that era. He's so funny in so many films, and he takes a lot of influence from classic Hollywood comedy, but he very much had his own style too, and he just cracks me up, and like every time I see his face, it's just funny to me, and there's so much nostalgia associated with watching these films. Like I know there is for a lot of people, especially people who are a little bit older than me, people who grew up watching these films on VHS, people who would go to, video stores in Chinatown and rent the films, or who would get these bootleg VHS versions of these movies in the UK or in the US, New York, Los Angeles, all these places, Montreal, where these films were watched over and over again and beloved by this whole generation of people. He was in so many fantastic films. So what I want you to do in the comments, I'm gonna do my tribute here to Richard in a second, but if you want to hop in the comments, I would love to hear people's memories of watching Richard Ng films. Which ones you remember watching the most, which ones you think are the funniest, your favorite scenes that he did, your favorite kind of comedic routines of his. And I just want to remember him in a really positive way. And through this community, this amazing community I've been able to meet through doing this channel, and who have even given me films of his I had never seen before, like Leon of Hong Kong Blu-rays helped me track down all the Pom Pom films, which he's in with John Schumann. I absolutely loved. I love those movies. I reviewed the first one on YouTube. There's a review of the second one in my Patreon, and so he's someone who, I found out he was in those films, and I really wanted to see them, and I talked to Leon about it, and he helped me find them, and Leon is a huge Richard Ng fan too. I would say maybe even more than I am. And
Hi there, Big Brother Will, and thank you very much for allowing me to appear on this tribute to Richard Ng. When I first came across Richard, it would have been like so many others in the Maliki style films, namely Winners and Sinners first. And right from the word go, I just found his comedy, his humor so appealing. This guy with the mustache and the big grin and those eyes, he just had some immense appeal, and he always made me look out for him. Whatever film he was in, he always had an impact. He always made me laugh. I just had to see him on screen and he would make me smile, as he did countless others. If I would put on a Jackie Chan film for a friend, everybody would always comment on Richard and how funny he was. So when I went on my journey and watched more and more films from Hong Kong, and you'd see him turn up in things like Carry On Pickpocket, Magnificent Warriors with Michelle Yeoh. It was always a nice pleasure to see Richard. But I always thought that he had so much more to offer than we ever maybe got. We always got glimpses of. In 1990, he was in a film with Bridget Lin called Red Dust, and this showed the audience a rare dramatic side to Richard Ng. And I like that he had that there, but I also like that he delivered to all his fans what they wanted, that humour, that comedy, in films like Mr. Vampire 3 and Millionaires Express. And for some reason, Richard always had a penchant for getting nude in films. He'd always end up in some scene where he'd lose his clothes. And it was funny, absolutely hysterical. Nobody did it better than Rich. Those gags were fantastic, and he was such a good sport, putting himself through what he did just for all of our entertainment. I will miss that actor an awful lot. Even up to recent years, he's turned up in films like Little Big Master from 2015 with Miriam Young. He was great in that. In the 2019 film directed by Emily Ting, Go Back to China, Richard shows some serious acting chops. But for me, it'll always be that funny guy in the Jackie Chan movies, Michelle Yeoh movies. And I'm glad that we have all those films to look back on. Richard, you will be missed. And just before I go, big thank you to Big Brother Will. Really appreciate this opportunity to add a little bit onto your video.
He's not just an actor in movies. He's someone who is a really integral part, I feel, of the fan community, of people's love of these films and their nostalgia, which connects them through love of the films. So let me just tell you, like, he was in so many amazing movies. Carry On Pickpocket, It Takes Two. He's obviously the Lucky Stars series. I mean, I love him in the Lucky Stars series. He's in Don't Give a Damn, the very controversial Sammo Hung film. Once Upon a Time in China and America. He's in Yes, Madam and Magnificent Warriors, which were just released by Eureka. He's in Millionaire Express, which has a great release from Arrow, which just came out in Region A. Eureka has released that in Region B. So a lot of these movies are available for you to go out and find and buy, and so you can reappreciate, like the Lucky Stars series. The first three were released. He's in, I think, almost all of them, if not all of them, but the first three were released on Blu-ray a couple years ago, I think March of 2021, by Eureka in Region B. He's in Mr. Vampire 3. He's in Miracles, the classic Jackie Chan movies, and Ghost Punting, the Sammo Hung film. He's in Future Cops. You'll know what that is if you know what I'm talking about. That's like an absolute cult classic. So some of my favorite Richard Ng moments and memories. I mean, in Winners and Sinners, he has two scenes that I think are absolutely classic and hysterical and kill me every time. There's one scene where he's reading a book about how to become invisible, and he thinks he's done it, and he's if you don't know the film, the setup is he and these other four guys all went to jail at the same time. They became friends in jail, and when they get out, they live together in a house and they start a business together. And they live with the sister of one of the guys too, and who's played by Sherry Chung, who's obviously incredibly attractive, and so they all have a crush on her. And so he thinks he's invisible, and he's walking around the house naked, and they know he thinks he's invisible, the other characters. So they're letting him, they're pretending he's not there. They're like ignoring him while he walks around the house naked. And he's like, oh my God, I did it. I'm invisible. And then, finally the other shoe drops. And it cracks me up every time. The other moment in that film that I love so much is the group of guys, like the gang, is stuck in the house of this villain. And the villain's thugs kind of come up to like challenge them in a fight. And he starts doing this, which is, I think is an homage to Charlie Chaplin or Jerry Lewis or maybe both of them. But he starts doing this like ridiculous like boxing warm up and like doing all these dance moves. It's just like preposterous. And the guy who he's doing it to is like, what is happening right now? And he basically confuses him so much that he escapes. It's really funny. It may be one of those things where you have to see it to think it's really funny. Maybe it's not funny to hear it from my mouth. And then the other scene I always think of when I think of him, is in A Millionaire Express, where they're on the train and he's in a train car with his wife and his mistress is on a different train car. So like he goes into the bathroom and locks the door, and he goes out the window and walks across the top of the train to his mistress's room. But then he's got to go back to where his wife is, and she's like, what are you doing in there? He's got to make like excuses and go back to the other. It's just so funny. It's so old Hollywood. Like it's so Marx Brothers. And that's why one of the things I love about him is he's so influenced, at least that I see, by that stuff like Marx Brothers and, obviously Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton. Buster Keaton was a big influence on Jackie Chan and some of those other guys. And I love that style of comedy. I love screwball comedy too, like those old Cary Grant movies and, His Girl Friday and Bringing Up Baby, Arsenic and Old Lace, It Happened One Night, like those type of Preston Sturges movies. I just love that stuff, and I see so much of that in his comedy style, and maybe that's one of the reasons I love him so much. But he just cracks me up, and he's been in so many classic films, and he's such an integral part of that whole era and that whole sense of justice. I can't express how much I love those movies, and and how much joy they bring me, and just a pure sense of just unadulterated, unself-conscious happiness. And so I just wanted to do this tribute video to him. And so, like I said, do drop in the comments your favorite films of his, and your favorite memories of watching his films, your favorite sequences and stuff like that. I mean, I love the Pom Pom movies so much too, and there's so many. I mean, there's a scene, I'm sorry, I won't not stop talking about it. There's a scene in one of those movies where Richard Ng and John Shum they have to go and find this guy, and they think he's in this bathhouse, and all they know about him is like he has a mole on his butt. So they don't know, like they know his alias, they don't know his real name, right? They know that he has a mole on his butt, so they're going around this bathhouse trying to look at everyone's butts. It's oh my god, it's so funny. It's so funny. It's Richard Ng, and he sadly passed away, but he was 83 years old. He did live a good, long, fulfilled life. And April 9th of 2023 is the day that he passed away, and he's just a legend of Hong Kong cinema, a legend of Hong Kong comedy, and I wanted to do my part to just acknowledge his greatness and contributions and how much he has meant to me as a fan over the years. So my name is Will, and you are watching Hong Kong Cinema Appreciation Society. As always, I thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.